From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. If the polls are correct, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will be campaigning today in 2 ridings, which are considered Conservative safe. Poilievre is expected to visit Nanoose Bay, BC, after starting his day in Saskatoon. Meanwhile, looking to get more support out of Ontario, Mark Carney will be riding his Liberal campaign bus across the province. He has a news conference scheduled for Sault Ste. Marie, where he'll also stop by a small business, before heading to southern Ontario for a number of events. And once again, if correct, the polls are suggesting that most ridings in Ontario are leaning Liberal. Speaking of polls, Canadians say that Ottawa's relations with Washington are just as bad as ties with Moscow. That's the word from a new poll that ultimately suggests an openness to improving links with China and especially Mexico. Now, just 16% of Canadians polled by Leger say Canada has a good relationship with the U.S. compared to 15% for its ties to Russia. Meanwhile, 36% of Canadians say Ottawa has a good relationship with Beijing, while the number ranks higher than 75% for ties with Mexico, the European Union, and the UK. Dozens of people lined up to air their thoughts on a Manitoba bill that would add gender expression to the province's Human Rights Code. The bill would protect people's rights to use their preferred pronouns, among other things, and would bring Manitoba in line with most other provinces. Many of the presenters Thursday night opposed the bill. Derek DeVries, a Winnipeg pastor, says it goes against his beliefs.
This law forbids Christians from following Christ's example. It requires speech he would not permit. It requires silence when he would call us to speak.
Justice Minister Matt Wiebe said the code applies to employment, housing, and other services, and not to interactions between private individuals. More than 60 people have signed up to speak to the bill, and more public hearings are scheduled for next week. Now, quickly overseas, where the church is continuing its preparations for the upcoming conclave, and one cardinal's inclusion remains in question. Reporter Ines de la Catera has the details from the Vatican.
Angelo Becciu was convicted of embezzlement in 2023 and sentenced to 5 years in prison, though he's free pending appeal. The Vatican lists him as disqualified for the conclave, but Becciu claims the list has no legal value.
Vatican officials have declined to comment. And finally, Ontario's Stuart Johnston has been officially introduced as the Canadian Football League's new commissioner. He succeeds Randy Ambrosie, who announced in October his intention to retire in 2025 once his successor was chosen. Now, Johnston has served as president of sports broadcaster TSN since 2010. He told reporters yesterday that his first priority as commissioner would be to speak to the league's stakeholders and to do a lot of listening. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, 3-0, the Toronto Maple Leafs defeated the Ottawa Senators in overtime 3-2, taking a stranglehold lead on that first-round series. A do-or-die Game 4 goes for the Sens in Ottawa on Saturday. The Winnipeg Jets still have a challenge ahead as they fall to the St. Louis Blues 7-2 and fall behind in their series 2-1. Elsewhere, the Florida Panthers beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 2-0 for a 2-0 head start in their series, and the Vegas Golden Knights were on the wrong side of a 5-2 decision as the Minnesota Wild take a 2-0 lead in that series. Over in the NBA playoffs, the New York Knicks defeated the Detroit Pistons 118-116. The LA Clippers, they snagged an easy 117-83 victory from the Denver Nuggets. And the Oklahoma City Thunder rallied from a 29-point deficit to beat the Memphis Grizzlies 114-108. And finally in the MLB, the 12-13 Toronto Blue Jays gear up for a 3-game set starting today against the 15-10 Yankees in New York. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.